You built the checklist last week. The manager has it and now they're using it. The review process looks different than it did a month ago, finally. But here's what I bet is still happening. The manager reviews the tax return and they find something that makes them pause. And they bring it to you. Not because they cannot handle it, but because they don't know they should. And then you take it because it's obviously faster than trying to explain it, and because some part of you isn't sure they're ready for that call yet. So the checklist exists and the review still lands on your desk. I want to ask you something before we go any further. When was the last time you sat down and wrote specifically the list of things that only you should handle? Not in a general sense of it, not a mental model you sort of carry around and toss around, but an actual written list. Most partners I meet never have this in place, and that missing list is exactly why the handoff never sticks. Today, we're going to build that list. So here's something that nobody talks about when they're talking about delegation in a professional service firm. You can give someone a checklist, an SOP, you can give them training, you can tell them to step up and take ownership. But if you haven't defined the line, the explicit boundary between what's theirs and what's yours, they will default asking you every time something feels ambiguous. And they're asking not because they are incapable, but because the cost of getting it wrong feels higher than the cost of asking. I mean, just for a second, think about the position. They're reviewing a return and something comes up. They're 80% sure they know how to handle it, but 20% uncertain. So if they handle it and they're wrong, they've made an error on a client's return without telling you. And if they bring it to you, the worst case is you spend 5 minutes on it and tell them what they really suspected. So if you are in their shoes, which one will you choose? Of course, take it to the owner. So of course they will bring it to you. You built a system that made asking you the rational decision. The only thing that changes the calculus is a clear line, write it down, specific, so they can know without asking whether a situation is theirs to handle or yours to make the call on. And that clear line has a name. It's called the 3Rs rule. Before I give you this rule, I want you to try something right now before I explain it. Write down the situations that you believe only you should handle. Not everything you currently handle, but the things that generally require you. So take a minute. Seriously, pause the video if you need to. Right. Welcome back. Because here is the thing I've seen when farm owners do this exercise. The list is shorter than expected. Much, much shorter. And that gap between everything they currently touch and what they discover that actually needs them, that gap is the valuation gap we talked about in week 3. That's the trapped capacity from week 1. That's the cost of a career holding you more than you needed to hold. And the 3R rule doesn't just give your manager a framework, it shows you for the first time exactly where your value as an owner, as a manager, is irreplaceable, and everywhere else where it isn't. So the 3 situations come to you, everything else the manager handles completely without asking. And here is the 3R rule. R number 1, reputation. Any situation where the firm's professional standing is at risk, any filing position that could expose you to a liability, a potential error with real consequences, anything that could result in a regulatory issue or a professional complaint, these always come back. Always, no exceptions. 2. Revenue. Any situation where a significant client relationship or revenue stream is genuinely at risk, a client shows signs of leaving, a fee dispute above a threshold you define, a situation where how is handled directly affects whether a meaningful client stays, these come back. The manager flags it and you handle that particular conversation. And the 3rd R is the relationship. Any situation involving a client whose specific history, sensitivities, or context requires your personal involvement, not a long-standing client. Specific clients, named, listed for a defined reason. And here's the critical part. This list should be shrinking every month as the relational knowledge gets transferred. The number of clients who require you personally should reduce. If it's not shrinking, the transfer isn't happening. So you've heard the rule now, and some part of you is already building exceptions. But what about when X? What happens if Y happens? And surely Z needs me. I know because every partner does this. But here's what I want you to sit with. Every exception you add to the 3R rule is a line that you draw in that says, this situation requires my personal judgment and no system can replace it. Well, that may be true for some of them, but for most of them, it's not that situation that requires you, it's that you've never built the alternative. You see, the 3R rule works because it forces the question not should I be involved, but does this situation genuinely meet one of these three criteria? If it does, come back. If it doesn't, it stays with the manager. That discipline applied consistently is what makes up for the permanent handoff. The rule needs to live somewhere, not in your head, on paper, one document, the escalation protocol. And it can be broken down into 4 sections. The first section is define each R specifically for your firm and not in broad terms. In your context, what does reputation risk situation look like in your practice? What revenue threshold triggers an escalation? Write those thresholds down. In the second section, list the current R's, the 3 clients. Name them, note why each one is on the list, note what will need them to be true for them to come off that particular list. The third section is define the response mechanic. When a manager identifies an R situation, how does the escalation happen? Is it a message? Is it like a flag in a system? Is it a call? Define the exact mechanic so there's no ambiguity. Fourth, 2 signatures, yours and the manager's. Not a bureaucracy, but a commitment. Your signature means that you stay out of everything below the 3R line. Their signature means that they own everything below it. At that moment, both signatures on the same page is where the handoff becomes real. Before it, the manager is helping with reviews. After it, the manager owns the reviews. Here's what I said at the start that I want to come back to. When was the last time you wrote down what only you should handle? If you did this exercise, you saw that the list was shorter than you expected. And that's uncomfortable because it means that some of what you've been holding, the thing that felt like they required you, didn't actually require you. They required a system, and that system didn't exist. The 3R rule doesn't take anything away from you. It shows you exactly what your expertise is worth. By isolating the situations where nothing can replace it, that's not a small thing. That's clarity most partners never get. So, this week, one document. Define your 3R specifically. List your R3 clients. Set the escalation mechanic. Get both signatures from you and the manager. And this Thursday, we're going to go into the unusual FAQs. The document that handles the 20, 30 to 30 scenarios that currently route to you by default. Not because they need you, but because nobody ever wrote down the answer. The dependency score is in the description, and I will see you on Thursday.